reverend, who also happens to be an LGBT activist, is now telling Christians to stop calling Jesus their savior. Why? Because it might offend people from other religions. Seriously? The reverend explained it like this. There was one word in those bedrock beliefs that began, for me, to feel uncomfortable, problematic. When people came to our church, they would check the website to see what we believe, and they would tell me, I looked up your church, and it sounded reasonable. But when I got to the word savior, that was a problem. A problem? Savior is a problem now? If you don't want to hear about Jesus being a savior, maybe don't go to a Christian church. Simple, right? Let's be real. Have you ever heard someone walk into a mosque and demand they stop talking about Muhammad? Of course not. But for some reason, Christianity is always the target. Why is it that activists think they can waltz into a church and demand Christians change their entire faith just to avoid offending someone? It's madness. Like, subscribe, comment. What do you think? Should churches start changing their core beliefs just to please everyone? But the craziness doesn't stop there, because now we're checking in on one of the most irritating voices on social media. You might think the View ladies are bad, but this person is on another level. Yes, we're talking about the self-proclaimed neurospicy individual who has built a whole personality around correcting people's pronouns. Her message? If you're going to be a bigot with your whole chest. They, them is a singular pronoun. She even told people to check Wikipedia, the APA, MLA, Oxford Dictionary, every source she could find. Her attitude? Sweetie, they'll all tell you you're wrong. But here's the problem. Just because you flood the internet with something doesn't make it true. The fact that online dictionaries and sources have been pressured into changing definitions doesn't mean reality has changed. Words still mean what they mean. This isn't about kindness anymore. It's about control. They want everyone to play by their rules or else. Like subscribe, comment. Are you tired of being lectured about pronouns? Speaking of family drama, let's talk politics. Remember Tim Walz? He's the guy who dreamed of being vice president. Well, his daughter Gwen Walz is making waves too, just not in a good way. She's furious over Donald Trump's executive order protecting women's sports from biological men. Her take? Signing an executive order that reins in 1% of the population is not protecting women. It's setting a dangerous precedent. It's dangerous for the trans community, women, minorities, anyone who isn't a straight white man. Oh, the classic straight white man line. So, let's get this straight. Protecting women's sports is now dangerous? Since when did fairness become a threat? Honestly, we dodged a bullet by keeping that family out of the White House. Remember Gwen's message when Trump won? Bye, Donald Trump. We are turning the page. Terrifying, right? Instead, we got Usha Vance, a massive upgrade, like subscribe, comment. What's your take on this? Should women's sports be protected? Let's keep this train rolling because we're not done yet. Now, let's talk about someone else connected to the White House, Kamala Harris's stepdaughter. You'd think being linked to the vice president would mean carrying yourself with a bit of class, right? Nope. Instead, she's on social media, showing off body oil and her body hair. She proudly declared, "What I did realize about having body hair is someone always has something to say about it. Whether it's good or bad, there's something very shocking still about body hair." Most commonly, I see comments like, "I bet you smell bad," or "Damn, that's dirty." Little do they know, I'm as clean as a whistle and heavily moisturized thanks to F-oil. Body oil commercials, showing off hairy armpits. That's the content the vice president's stepdaughter is giving the world. Is this what representation looks like now? Like, subscribe, comment. Do you think this is empowering or just plain weird? But we're not done with government drama, because the Justice Department is going after New York and it's getting serious. Governor Kathy Hochul, Attorney General Letitia James, and DMV Chief Mark Schroeder are all in hot water. The reason? They refuse to work with federal immigration authorities. Well, the new DOJ isn't having it. U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi made it clear, "We have filed charges against the state of New York. We have filed charges against Kathy Hochul. We have filed charges against Letitia James and Mark Schroeder." This is a new DOJ, and we are taking steps to protect Americans. American citizens come first. That's right. The days of prioritizing illegal immigrants over American citizens? Over. It's done. Finally, some accountability. Like, subscribe, comment. Do you think this crackdown is long overdue? And speaking of New York, let's talk about the city's complete meltdown. Filmmaker and journalist Ami Horowitz weighed in, saying, "It's beyond belief. Democrats just lost an election, largely because of this issue, and they haven't learned a single thing. They're writing the 2026 Republican victory script as we speak." Brandon Johnson, the mayor of Chicago, is sitting at a 14% approval rating. 14. That's lower than Kendrick Lamar showing up at a Drake family reunion. It's a disaster. People are tired of crime, homelessness, and illegal immigrants draining resources. Letitia James, the same one being sued, even had the nerve to say, "Our laws protect all New Yorkers." Excuse me? People who entered the country illegally are not New Yorkers. They are not all of us. They are draining resources and contributing to crime. Everyone can see it. Pam Bondi hit the nail on the head. She's even threatening to cut off $1.5 billion in federal funding. Yes, billion with a B. Finally, someone is standing up to these blue cities. Like, subscribe, comment. Do you think cities like New York should lose funding if they refuse to follow immigration laws? Let's keep it going, because the wins for Trump's administration just keep stacking up. Another big victory just came through. The Senate confirmed Tulsi Gabbard as the Director of National Intelligence. That's right, Tulsi is officially in, and it's sending shockwaves through Washington. She was sworn in by none other than Attorney General Pam Bondi, and the ceremony was powerful. Tulsi stood tall, hand on the Bible, saying, "I, Tulsi Gabbard, do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States." But of course, there had to be one Republican holdout. Guess who? Mitch McConnell. Yep, the same Mitch McConnell who has been raising eyebrows lately with his strange, freezing episodes. Remember that bizarre moment when he locked up during a press conference? Reporters asked if he was running for re-election, and he just froze. Total silence. Staff had to rush in and say, "We're going to need a minute." People are asking, who's really pulling McConnell's strings these days? Because it sure doesn't look like he's the one calling the shots. But despite that little bump, Trump got what he wanted. Tulsi is in, and this marks yet another major win for his team. Like, subscribe, comment. Do you think Tulsi is the right choice? But that's not all. The Trump administration is proving it can get results on the world stage too. Russia just released an American hostage. Mark Fogle, a teacher from Pennsylvania, was detained in Russia for nearly 4 years after being caught with legally prescribed marijuana. He was locked away like a criminal, but Trump got him out. Mark was emotional after his release, saying, "I feel like the luckiest man on earth right now. President Trump is a hero. The men who came from the diplomatic service are heroes." That's what leadership looks like. Compare that to the last administration, dragging its feet and making bad trades. Remember trading a dangerous arms dealer for a basketball player? Like, subscribe, comment. Do you think Trump's tough approach is what America needs? And speaking of Trump's strength, he's pushing for something huge, peace in Ukraine. Yes, after 3 long years of war, Trump spoke with Vladimir Putin and called it a lengthy and highly productive conversation. Now, Ukrainian President Zelensky is welcoming the peace talks. Finally, progress. Journalist Ami Horowitz explained, "It looks like we're moving quickly toward a deal. The Europeans are even starting to mirror Trump's rhetoric. Everyone is realizing this war can't go on forever. Here's what the deal could look like. Russia won't take Kyiv. Ukraine won't reclaim Donbass. Ukraine won't join NATO. That's the reality, and Trump is cutting through the nonsense to get it done. Like, subscribe, comment. Do you think this peace deal is what the world needs?" But Trump isn't just stopping at peace. He's demanding Europe pay more. For too long, the U.S. has been footing the bill for Ukraine, while European countries sat back. Trump's message is clear: step up or get left behind. He's even suggesting Ukraine repay the U.S. through mineral resources. That's right, No more free rides. Journalist Horowitz summed it up perfectly. This can't be cost-free. The U.S. has been funding Ukraine for years. It's time we get something in return. Like, subscribe, comment. Should Ukraine start paying America back for all that support? Let's keep going, because things are heating up even more. Trump isn't just working on peace in Ukraine. He's also putting the pressure on Hamas in the Middle East. The clock is ticking, and Trump has laid down a clear deadline: release all the hostages by midday Saturday, or all hell will break loose. That's right, Trump is not playing games. The ceasefire could end in a matter of days if Hamas doesn't comply. Israel is ready to act, and they're not taking any chances this time. Journalist Ami Horowitz explained the situation bluntly. Israel was confident the ceasefire would hold. But many Israelis are now having doubts. Hamas knows that this next group of hostages won't look healthy. They've been tortured, starved, and abused. They don't want the world to see that. It's horrifying, but that's the reality. Some fear the images will remind people of Holocaust survivors. That's how bad the conditions are. And Hamas? They'd rather let those hostages die than expose the truth. But Trump's approach is clear. No more games. You release those hostages or face the consequences. Compare that to Biden's weak approach. Remember how he pressured Israel into holding back, even after Hamas attacked? Biden practically begged them to show restraint, while Israeli families were being torn apart. Trump's stance? Defend your people, do whatever it takes. That's leadership, like subscribe, comment. Do you support Trump's tough stance on Hamas? And it's not just Israel that Trump is calling out. He's also turning up the heat on neighboring countries like Jordan, Egypt, and Lebanon. Trump wants them to step up and take responsibility for their part in this crisis. The message is clear. Stop expecting the West to carry the burden. Help your own neighbors. But guess what? These countries don't want to take in Palestinian refugees, not because they don't have space, but because they know the truth. Palestinian refugees, especially those tied to Hamas, bring radicalism and chaos wherever they go. These countries have experienced it before, and they want nothing to do with it. Journalist Horowitz put it simply: they know what happened the last time they let Palestinian refugees in. It led to unrest, extremism, and violence. They're not making that mistake again. So, what's the solution? Trump's making it clear. You may not want the refugees, but you will pay to rebuild Gaza. The US and Europe won't foot the bill this time. And guess what? They're listening. Trump's leverage is working. Like subscribe, comment. Do you think these Arab countries should be the ones to rebuild Gaza? But this isn't just about the war. It's about changing the future of the Middle East forever. Trump is working behind the scenes to finalize a historic peace deal between Israel and Saudi Arabia. Experts say this could reshape the entire region. For decades, the lie was pushed that nothing can change until Palestinians get a state. Trump proved that was nonsense with the Abraham Accords, and now he's ready to take it even further. Horowitz made it clear: if Saudi Arabia and Israel normalize relations, it changes everything. It isolates extremists like Hamas and Iran. It shows the world that peace is possible without giving in to terrorists. Like, subscribe, comment. Do you think Trump can secure lasting peace in the Middle East? It's that time again. Lefties are losing it. Just when it seemed like the women on The View had hit rock bottom, they went and proved everyone wrong. Again. This time, their target? A child. Yes, a 4-year-old little boy. Whoopi Goldberg, of all people, decided to mock Elon Musk's young son, X. Can you believe it? A grown woman mocking a kid. Yesterday, Elon brought little X with him to a press conference at the Oval Office. Cute, right? Well, not according to Whoopi. She took that moment and made fun of his name. X? Seriously? Coming from someone who chose Whoopi as her own name? Let's not forget, her real name is Karen Elaine Johnson. So why Whoopi? Here's the charming reason she gave. Once I started getting parts in plays, I wanted a name that sounded more interesting. Karen Johnson wasn't it. Some people at the Rep called me Whoopi because I would let loose with a fart. Yes, you read that right. A fart? How lovely. A woman who named herself after a bodily function is mocking a little boy's name? Give us a break. X is an adorable name. And maybe someone who thought Whoopi Cushion was a great branding choice should sit this one out. Even funnier, X, despite being only 4, already seems to have more common sense than the entire panel of The View. Here he is, standing next to his dad at the event, and he's got this innocent, curious look. And guess what he asked? What should I do? Save America and help Trump? That's right, a 4-year-old with more direction than half of Hollywood. Like, subscribe, comment. What do you think about this? Should grown adults really be dragging little kids into their nonsense? But wait, the madness doesn't stop there. Because, of course, the left has more tricks up their sleeves. And this time it's coming from the pulpit. Some preachers, who should be preaching peace, are now calling for violence. Yep, violence. A pastor in Tennessee recently delivered a fiery sermon that left jaws on the floor. He warned his congregation about Elon Musk. But instead of focusing on faith, this preacher seemed to suggest violence could be necessary. His exact words: "Sometimes violence is necessary when Elon Musk forces his way into the United States Treasury and threatens to steal your personal information and your social security check." Excuse me, what? He even went further, saying, "Sometimes the devil will act so ugly that you have no other choice but to get violent and fight." Hold on. What? Did he just suggest people fight Elon Musk? In church? That's not a sermon. That sounds like a threat. Elon Musk might need to get his lawyers involved. That sounded like a clear call for violence. Since when did the pulpit become a place to declare war? Like, subscribe, comment. What do you think? Should preachers be using church services to call for violence? Now, we shift from the pulpit in Tennessee to Canada, where things are getting even more bizarre. A so-called reverend, who also happens to be an LGBT activist, is now telling Christians to stop calling Jesus their savior. Why? Because it might offend people from other religions. Seriously? The reverend explained it like this: "There was one word in those bedrock beliefs that began, for me, to feel uncomfortable, problematic. When people came to our church, they would check the website to see what we believe, and they would tell me, 'I looked up your church, and it sounded reasonable.' But when I got to the word savior, that was a problem." A problem? Savior is a problem now? If you don't want to hear about Jesus being a savior, maybe don't go to a Christian church. Simple, right? Let's be real. Have you ever heard someone walk into a mosque and demand they stop talking about Muhammad? Of course not. But for some reason, Christianity is always the target. Why is it that activists think they can waltz into a church and demand Christians change their entire faith just to avoid offending someone? It's madness. Like, subscribe, comment. What do you think? Should churches start changing their core beliefs just to please everyone? But the craziness doesn't stop there, because now we're checking in on one of the most irritating voices on social media. You might think the View ladies are bad, but this person is on another level. Yes, we're talking about the self-proclaimed neurospicy individual who has built a whole personality around correcting people's pronouns. Her message? If you're going to be a bigot with your whole chest. They, them is a singular pronoun. She even told people to check Wikipedia, the APA, MLA, Oxford Dictionary, every source she could find. Her attitude? Sweetie, they'll all tell you you're wrong. But here's the problem. Just because you flood the internet with something doesn't make it true. The fact that online dictionaries and